and then awesome.
Ah.
Okay. So whenever we start this, I almost want to do it like Wheel of Fortune. We draw conclusions. But that sounds terrible. So that's not really what I want to do either. We draw conclusions. So we're back. We are drawing conclusions. This is We Draw Conclusions. We're whoever we are.
We draw conclusions.
We're Emmy and our dad and a daughter. So
yeah.
Engineer and an artist.
Yep.
All those kind of things. That's us.
Yeah. Figuring it out. All the good stuff. Yeah.
So we always start with the first segment.
Yep.
Obviously, you start with the first segment.
Yep, that's me. That's
the first
art
segment is art. As usual, what is the art today?
Yes, so today, sorry, there's fur everywhere because I have a cat on my lap. So what I wanted to discuss today was, so I'm sure, Dad, you've heard this, and I've also heard you say this yourself. You look at some art pieces and you go, I can do that. That's something I can do, or that's something that like my kid could do, or anybody could do.
I'm trying to think of. I guess you say that with like things like Jackson Pollock and things like that, right? I mean, that's what I go back, or my quintessential example, the banana on the wall.
Sure.
Like the concept of it, like there may be some deeper meaning for whatever the dude was trying to do, but yes, technically, how am I not able to do exactly the same thing that he's doing?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
So, okay, that's all right. We're starting from there.
Yes.
Go ahead.
That's what we're starting with. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's something that I often hear, like you said with Jackson Pollock, or just like any sort of like mainly contemporary or abstract artists or people, mainly contemporary, mainly postmodern artists that just create pieces or works or pass them off as artworks, and it just appears to be something that can just be executed by anybody. However, there is also the other side of art, which is, the more technically skilled stuff. Like there's sculpting, there's painting, there's all these things. But the majority of the times, the things that like people refer to as like the most impressive pieces that are like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can only draw stick figures. Like, they say things like that.
Yes.
That's like when realism art comes in.
Okay.
They mainly talk about those things, which is fair. Like that obviously takes a lot of technical skill. Now, so then also adding to that, the other thing that people will often say, anybody can do that, is photography. Anybody can take a picture. Anybody can take. Well, I mean, we all have phones. We all have access to phones or some form of photography, like cameras and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, anybody can take a picture. All right, so I guess like the main kind of focus for this topic is technical skill the thing that like makes people like most interested in art or values art more, like that kind of thing? Because I guess to kind of put it like for this example specifically, is it more impressive for you to look at a piece that has been handcrafted and is like super realistic, but then like it's the same, but then there's a photograph of like the exact same scene? Like which one to you is more impressive?
Well, so I'm trying to think of all the things that are going through my head. Like photography, though, I don't. When I see a good like Ansel Adams, I'll give, because that's like the one that I know of. But
sure.
And even the one that your friend did, his like whatever mid-res,
his
mid-res of your friend.
Yeah,
like the composition of those things are things like an Ansel Adams. Like you could, someone else could take the same object, an image of a photograph of the same object, but not give it the same exact feel that he does because of his use of, shutter speed, aperture, all those kind of things. He knew what he was doing to get the feel that he wanted to. And so just because you can take a picture of the same thing doesn't mean, I don't think that it's art. And then especially for like the things that your friend did, like the composition of what he was trying to capture was not something that a normal person would capture.
Or just like another person who, or like a non-artist would think about.
Like a non-artist wouldn't think of even capturing that.
Sure.
Right. So that's, I don't know that I kind of understand what you're saying, but also the thing is, like, I don't like photography. There is an art to it because it's not just taking a picture. It's like composing it and trying to get a feel of it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why you can get better at photography because there is actually some aspect of it that is not just image capture of a particular moment in time. There's actual, talent to it, or method and technique to it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So then, but like if you're saying like if someone takes a photo of something and then someone draws something that's photorealistic, like all those there's people who draw photorealistic superheroes, right? That's a very common Instagram thing. I used to, when I, during the heyday of Marvel, people would make those very photorealistic things. And also the other one is like the photorealistic chalk drawings that look like someone you could fall into it. Those things, that technical skill, that I think most people like it especially I'm thinking in the Instagram scrolling culture, like, those things stand out because it's like, oh, it's a picture, and then you like, wait, someone drew that, and so it's like it pulls you in. It's easier to attract attention and pull you in with that photorealism or that realism.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I'm not. Where do you want to go from there? That so it draws attention. So I would say it draws attention. Like if there's a photo of I'll take the example of your old one of your art things in high school. Like it's like the headphones. There was a picture of headphones, and then you drew headphones in chalk or charcoal, right? And I'm like, wow, that's like that thing stands out because it's like, wow, you did that with chalk, and it looks like headphones, and you're like, wow.
Cool.
It's really cool, and so that draws your attention.
Yes.
But then, so what do you like? What do you want to riff off of that? Going off of that, what do you want to explore?
No, So I mainly wanted to the reason why I posed the question like that, or the way that I posed or phrased it, was because I wanted to just like strip away from like the validity of the art, the concept behind it, like all that stuff, but more of the technique and technical skill involved in it, like and just like see like how you felt like in comparison between like the process of taking a photograph versus the process of like drawing and like painting and like doing all this other stuff. But then like also there's the other version, which is just abstract expressionism and all those kinds of things, where it seems to not take a lot of technical skill, right? So it's just, so I just because I think like I personally, in a lot of art, when I'm critiquing art or I'm just looking at it, I obviously take into consideration the concept behind it and the context, the intent of the artist, what they were aiming to do with the work, but I think it's also important to be able to look at a work without without thinking about those things and just see, is this a piece that I'm already drawn to? So you pointed that out, that like, okay, there's that technique, that skill is something that would draw your attention to that thing. Yeah.
I would guess the more that if you're looking for like ability, I guess, of an artist or something, it requires both, right? And so like some of the things I've seen on campus for you, at your camp at school, there's like some that like don't exhibit. I don't, maybe the particular piece was meant to not exhibit like some overly technical prowess, over technical prowess, right? They don't look technically impressive.
Sure, yeah.
But they even those can give a feel of what they were trying to convey, right?
Yeah.
And then there's some overly, like some very technically sound things that are just feel like like going back to the Instagram art, those are technically skilled people to be able to create a photorealistic Spider-Man or whatever.
Sure.
But is that impressive? I mean, is it art? It's not really art because it's not really trying to convey something. So you can have a technically, proficient piece that's not really art, and then you can have a non-technically proficient thing that is art. But I think that if you're just trying to, like, I think if you're like a non-technically proficient piece, I still think, like, to convey what the artist is trying to convey, I think that actually means that they were technically proficient in what they were trying to do.
I mean, yeah, technically, right?
Like, because I'll give you my thing that I think comes to mind is like the Picasso bull thing, where it's like 5 lines or something, some minimal number of lines, and that's the bull. And it's like when you see how he reversed went from he drew the full bull, and then he went backwards and then tried to minimize it into just the foundational strokes. Like, and so you see those foundational strokes, not very impressive technically,
right?
But you're like, holy cow, that is amazing.
That was a really interesting process behind it. Yeah.
That process too, but I guess the final piece, like, if you don't know the process, is less impressive.
So that's the question that I'm raising to you about that. Yeah. So if you didn't know about that process, people who didn't know that story of like how the thing was made, if you don't know the context, it just like I'm saying, take away the context, take away the intent, take away like all the process even. Like, yes, of course it's valid to know those things, and like if you're curious to learn about those things, yes, please do, and that might add some sort of value to or something to how you perceive a piece. Sure, that you want to do, but just first glance.
No, that's really hard then.
Yeah.
Like if I look at that Picasso's bull, not knowing all that stuff, I'm like, okay, he drew some lines, and it's like, yeah, it looks kind of like a bull. Wow, he's like, I think a little kid could have, come up with something similar, and you 3 lines that, or X number of lines that look close enough to a bull, and you're like, wow, that's pretty good. You did, you drew some lines, and it looks like foundationally a bull, but. Like,
it's a line. It's lines.
It's some lines. It's not, it's not detailed. It's not, thing. But yeah, but like I said, because I know that backstory, because of that, then. So are you trying to get at that? Is it art if you don't know the backstory kind of thing, or what? Like,
well,
what,
yeah,
what
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, if you don't know, if you're only, because with a lot of artwork. Right, it's you see them in museums, you see them in galleries, you see the final result. You don't actually get to see much of the process of it. You don't normally at shows. You don't really get to talk to the artists that are there. They're not there. You're just kind of like, you have your first impressions, and I think that's like a big thing that I see with just. A lot of just non-artists, but also just people in general who are trying to appreciate art and are like just taking at it at a very just like, okay, it's first glance,
superficial level.
Okay, but I don't want to say that, because honestly, that is a completely fair and valid way to look for people to do that, because that's.
No, I was going to say that too. But like, what do you have to? Does an artist expect someone to do? Like, can you expect them to know your backstory before they appreciate a piece?
Also, does the artist want to know the person to know the backstory? Does the artist want them to understand all this process and like all these contexts and things?
That kind of goes to the thing that I always talk about with you because I learned about it. It's the artist statement, right? I want that because like I want to we talk about, I want to know what they were trying to convey so that I can tell whether they did a good job of it. But if you're saying that some artists, like when they put their piece up, they don't want to give the artist statement because of the thing I despise, that they want you to interpret the way you get what you want to get out of it. That makes no sense to me because
that's not how you do it.
No, because it's it seems like it's just, for me, that's always a cop out, because it's like, yes, if anybody throws anything up in any way, then, and you say, well, you interpret the way you want to, then it's like no, then if any interpretation is valid, then no interpretation is valid, or vice versa, right? It's like, well, so then what was like, if I can interpret your piece as a, as a rant against communism, and the other guy can say it's a pro-capitalist, manifesto. Those are two opposite sides of an argument. And if the same piece can say the same thing or opposites, then what is it actually saying? Then you're telling me that it's saying nothing and it's nihilism.
Or
that's what I.
Oh, there you go. Or it can just be a piece that's supposed to just spark controversy in general. And then it's a piece about people coming up with things.
But then that's what they're saying, that all their art is just controversy. So the piece is controversy, and it really has no meaning except to be contradictory and inflammatory.
Yeah,
which is that's it's a thing, I guess.
Well, I think that's more of the kind of extremist side of the whole, open to interpretation thing. It's the whole, you've heard it before. Art is subjective. Art is same as beauty is subjective, those things. People are going to, but the actual definition of subjective, it's that people are going to interpret things differently. It's that people are going to value things at different rates.
Yes.
And
there's a subjectivity, right? There's an aspect of things being subjective, which is you see white and I see eggshell.
Sure.
Right? But to say that you see white and I see, green, that then you can say it's subjective, but there's also some objectivity there. Has to be some objectivity to make it make any sense. Mm-hmm. Right? And so just by saying it's subjective does not make it valid, because there has to be, like you said, there's some spectrum of objectivity, or else it's just nihilism and makes no and it's just okay, so then I shouldn't even care.
Right.
That's where I get. See, that's
where your problem comes in.
Get. I'm so, when people say that it's up to your interpretation,
mm-hmm.
then I go, okay, so then I don't care. So I don't have to care if I don't want to subject myself to my interpretation. I was okay, your piece. I don't care about your piece then. And so you have to respect my interpretation of this being pointless. That's my perspective. That's my conclusion. Sorry.
That's already concluded this before. Before the segment's even over, joking. He's just saying
I'm just joking. What? Yeah. But that's.
Oh gosh, where do we even go now?
Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
I had a whole thing, and then you were just.
Dreams.
No, you just. I don't even know what you did. It's just, okay.
No, go ahead. Sorry. That's your dad. You know what?
I know
I can take things in.
No.
Extreme
By the way, I don't know if people are aware of this. This is how we are.
Yeah.
This is not these are not characters.
This is a normal conversation.
This is every day.
Dad just goes somewhere.
It's awesome. Which is why we're recording it.
Yes,
it's
fun.
It's really funny. Oh gosh, where was I? What was? So your conclusion is? Yeah.
Well, no, my conclusion. Sorry, I won't
Whatever.
conclude yet.
Okay, you're not concluding, but you're.
So there, the subjective nature of things still has to be grounded in something.
Sure.
Is my point.
Yes.
I guess
Sure.
If you. Just saying that it's subjective and it's up to your interpretation.
Right.
That just is so wide open that like I said, it's I don't even want to engage with it, because what if I can make it up, then the next person, what am I, if I'm if it's sparking something, if I'm even supposed to talk to you about it, how can I talk to somebody else about it if there is no common ground? If it's completely subjective, then there's nothing for me to talk to somebody else about it.
Right.
Because they're going to talk about it in one way and I'm going to talk about it in another. And it's okay, talking past each other. So why did we do this?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So.
Right. Why were we even paying attention to this work? Why were we even giving it the energy and the thought into
exactly.
it?
Like I said, that's why I would give it no energy. So go ahead.
Nihilism. Woo! No, but yeah, I think what I was getting at was, the art is subjective thing. That's a thing. Yes, interpretation is going to be different for everybody. Yes, it's valid. But yeah, like you're saying, there is some sort of objectivity involved there. Of course, everybody's also going to come up. I know people that are especially in my art world, that are that have refutable like weird like ways to refute that argument, which is but your idea of objectivity is subjective. It's like, no. No, if that's green and you're seeing that as green and then all these other people are seeing it as green, that's green. That's objectively green.
Yeah, I mean, I know what they're saying. I mean, they will say, but everyone sees a different shade of green. You might call it might relate to an avocado, and this green. You might call it a pea.
That's
pea
great,
green,
but that's still green.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a basis. There's a basic fact there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, the other side of that, like I understand everyone's going to come to like. The emotion that something might evoke, right?
Yeah.
If you interpret something as avocado green and you hate avocados, then your feeling of that piece may feel different from someone who loves avocados.
Yes, but you can't.
That's the subjective.
You can't take away from the fact that it's green.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that you can take away from the objective
so then, like the
thing.
subjectivity of like whether what you get away from, like what you take away from it will be subjective because individual, right?
Yeah,
that's the big. That
is the big thing. Yeah.
I was just thinking about that piece that we saw with. And it's weird that I actually am thinking about this one, but it's one of the ones where it was like there was a yellow panel, a light green panel, and a dark green panel, and it was like corn, spinach, and some other something.
But it was called like view from like the train.
View from a train, yeah. But it was like because you would like the bottom, like nearest to the train, bottom of the train of your vision, it would be would be the wheat field or whatever was yellow, and then something green.
Fast
and I was like, okay. That I mean, if you just put me yellow, green, and green bars and just call it yellow, green, green, I'd be like, what? Never mind.
Great.
Because there was that piece that was black or blue, red, white, blue, or something.
Okay, I don't.
But that one that had the color and it was like this view from a train. I'm like, okay, I can kind of go with that.
Yes, but however, if you didn't know the title, if we didn't have the statement right next to it explaining it.
Very good.
Then we're like, okay, that's just okay.
Yes.
What do I do with that? Of course, but that's not saying that the art itself, like you're saying, the art itself isn't subjective. It's our interpretation that's subjective. So other people might see that and don't have to look at the thing and go, yep, that's why I view from a train. That's what that is. I don't know how.
Could you really? So like. If the artist didn't give us a title, or didn't give us that, what should we have done with it?
They don't give a title. Well, okay, yeah. If they just called it untitled, or they called it like green, yellow, green, or whatever you're saying, yeah. No, at that point, then I'm like, okay, I don't.
See, because it's the same piece, one with a title, one without a title, and now, like, what am I supposed to do with that? See. That's
yeah. Well, that's where So that's where my question is coming in.
Yeah.
Is what is this?
Because there was intent. There was still always I can't. So if one artist had painted that thing and called it view from a train, right? Because that was the intent. They had an intent to, and for me, like, okay, that they executed that well.
Okay, hold on. Wait, what are you saying that their intent was?
To convey that this is a vision of this is a interpretation of a vision from a train car as it's going by.
Yes.
As you're going by, you're sitting in a train car.
Really simplistic, minimalistic way.
Like almost like the minimalist way of the bull.
Yeah.
Right. You like, what's the essence of going by in a train?
Just
I see yellow, green, and green. And I'm like, dude, you did it. I mean, that you did what you convey. You're right.
Yes.
Someone throws yellow, green bars up there with no title, and I'm like, okay, what were you trying to convey? I don't
Okay, but now here's the other part. So, but even though you know that it was the view from the train, how do you still is that still a good piece to you?
So like technically, what do you mean good piece?
So conceptually or technically?
Because I know it's a view from a train.
Yes, because you do. Does that change your view of like?
Well, so conceptually, it It's impressive. It's good. I enjoy it. I liked it. After thinking about it, I liked it conceptually because it is a view from a train. Now, I would be more impressed if, very similar to the way Picasso did it, if they had started with a field, like trees, then the green part of it, and then yellow, and then like
washed it
and
or something,
and turned it into the minimalist version of that. Became that. Like they actually had a process for deconstructing their scene from a train. If they had started with the scene from a train and ended up with that, technically, then I would have been said, oh, they thought through that and they put. I guess that's part of it too. It's like, for me, and this may be wrong. It's like, was there effort involved in it? Were you like, did you think this through, or did you just throw yellow things up there and green, yellow, and blue, and then go? Took me an hour and a half, and then just went woo, woo, woo on panels and said, "There's my piece." Or did they go, "Okay, I have the this is what I remember from the scene of when I was on a train, and they drew the trees, the field of green, and then the field of yellow." And then they go, now, if I step back, what is the essence of of traveling on a train? What do I really see when I'm on a train? Because I don't actually see that moment in time. If I'm capturing the motion of the train when I'm going on the train, eventually I just end up seeing the green, and the yellow. Mm-hmm. And they went through that whole process, and then that's what they came up with. I'd be like, I'd be very impressed then.
Okay,
but
sure.
So those two things, like the end,
but that would still involve knowing what the process and the context was.
So the process, once again, the process for me is
okay. You're big on the process.
I am very big on the process because how you got to the process of how they got from their what they had in mind or where they started from and what the final piece is.
Okay,
like makes a difference for me.
Okay,
like just like a photograph. It's like I'm walking down the street and take a picture of a dead bird. You're like, is that art? But if I now I want to frame it with a car in the background and like more birds or something. Like if
add
I think
something to it.
If I think through what I'm trying to convey, or I'm trying to do something more than just take a snapshot in time. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to do more than that, then that's when there's artistic
integrity,
not integrity, but just like thought or like skill, even just like you're trying to do something more than just taking a moment in time. It's like you're trying to.
Well, is it the skill that makes an artist an artist?
I think it's the attention to what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. What you aim to do by using those skills.
Yes. Yeah. And your skills can be more or less mature. Doesn't mean it mean it's better or worse. It's just that
or you don't have to use like your skills to full capacity, but you can still express something, right?
Like that painter, the painter that did the yellow green thing. I'm sure they can kick butt at painting something realistic.
Oh,
but for that particular piece, they were trying to capture something other than the realism of painting.
Yeah,
that person did not just go there and go, oh, my first piece is going to be yellow, green, and then I'm going to be world famous artist in the Chicago Institute of Art, Chicago, whatever. They have like a long history of their art and their process and and their pieces and so I'm guessing that was not the first thing and they don't have no technical skill.
Yeah,
that's sure. I'm almost I don't know them their whole history, but I'm pretty sure that's not something they just threw together.
No, of course not. Yeah.
So,
but no. I mean, So, obviously. Like technical skill, I think, just overall, just to the general public, is impressive to look at. Yes. It's impressive, and it's interesting, and it might make the piece more interesting or more intriguing to somebody. Yes. However, that doesn't necessarily add value to the work. Like we just discussed that whole entire view of a train thing. Yeah.
But no, I agree with you're saying completely.
Yeah. That's why they have a whole contemporary art section in a museum.
Part of that is that, like, that's the part where you've talked about the scrolling thing. Is like, does it grab your attention enough for someone to like understand, like try to engage with the art, I guess is what is how I would phrase it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, well, at that point, it turns from, because so this is where we get into my art history knowledge moment, my nerd moment. So modern art, right? As we've discussed, modern art and contemporary art are very different, not just because of time wise, but also because of what they tried to focus on as far as art went. So I think I mentioned this in the previous episode, but one of the main shifts in focus in terms of art making was they shifted from focusing on the aesthetic and more on the concept. And so therefore, aesthetically, might not have looked as pleasing, might not have looked as interesting, because modernism was like realism, impressionism, like all these like, you know, super bright, like in your face, like, okay, this, and like you're engaging and you're interacting with this work. Contemporary art is like, okay, but can you still interact with it without all that stuff?
But that's okay. So I think I understand the part that, but like are you forcing people to come to your perspective that they don't have to like that's kind of like I guess my problem with that idea is that you're forcing people to come to you in a way that, you know, like art, then the art is becoming insular, right? If you're saying you have to engage on my terms, right? I'm not going to make it any interesting at all to you. You have to come and figure out if it's interesting or something to engage with without me helping you,
right?
And so I'm like, so that is, are you like, does that lead to where art kind of is placed now, where it's something else that most normal people don't do, because it's like the artists have become so much in that headspace that they want that, like, oh no, I don't want to, you have to figure out what I mean by it, not I'm not going to give you any hints along the ways.
I think there's most certainly that aspect of narcissism in the art world. Sure. Yeah, I think so. But I think also, yeah, you know, it's the whole, you know, my stuff is just super meta. Like, you just normal people that don't get it, like all that whatever stuff. But I think also, but that's why I was talking about, you know, the technical skill and like all that stuff, and just like things that are generally aesthetically interesting or pleasing to the general public, because I think that's what I mean, obviously I wanted to bring attention to like why I feel that a lot of people feel that they're missing that in contemporary art nowadays, because that's been a shift in art movement and like art focus. But I think to a degree there are certain like contemporary pieces like we just talked, like the one that we just talked about, that we can absolutely appreciate, but just in a different way, because because contemporary art is so focused on concept, then we have to pay attention to the concept. We have to, but because people are so used to art from like they think of when they think of art, they think of modern art. They think of like, you know, older, you know, like more impressive or like technically skilled, like all this stuff. So this new shift in this stuff, they don't get that. But that's not okay. But that's not a bad thing. This is just a very different shift for people to try to understand.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I don't, but like, because of that, does it make it hard? Like, how do you get people to appreciate that if like the whole point is to not make it easy? I mean, not the point, but like the thing that made it easy or the thing that draws people in is the thing that you're trying to get away from, right? Because you're saying, it's trying to be more conceptual, and the conceptual is much harder to at a glance draw attention to it, or like even draw you in. Like if you're scrolling, like once again we'll go back to the scrolling analogy, but if you're scrolling by the you know, yellow, green,
you're like,
you're
okay,
just gonna go by it,
done.
But even if it was like some shocking array of colors, you might stop but still not engage in it. It might slow you down a little bit more because the colors were bright or something attractive or something, but but if it's still so conceptual that it's like, almost got it, and I almost drew you into my concept, but no, it's not. Like it's conceptual things take a lot more effort to engage with, and if your generation in particular is getting less and less, engaged with, it takes more a greater trigger to get them to engage with something, then the only thing you get is spectacle, which is banana on a wall, right?
Sure.
It becomes spectacle is the only thing that gets you to interact with a concept. I still don't know. Sorry, I still don't understand what the concept was behind the banana on the wall. I'm not sure if you studied it or anything or learned about it. But I don't know what the concept was even behind that thing. So like it's spectacle.
Yeah.
I'll live with that. It's calling that kind of thing spectacle.
Yeah, well, that's how I interpreted it when it came out, and like all the discussion kept happening around it. I just thought that it was just one of those pieces that was just an art piece about an art piece, or just art about art, which was, if I just do a thing and then just call it art, then therefore it's art. And then they're making this like, this giant, generalization about it. And just kind of the idea of like what artists become, which I think it's in some ways it's a fair criticism, but by also participating in the very thing that you're criticizing, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I don't even like. I mean, there's a part of me that takes that as not even meta criticism, but it's just
if I just don't like when artists will just be hypocrites and then be like, it's art.
Yeah.
Like, stop doing that. Or like when what's his face? Like Jeff Koons and like, all those other artists, like they like deliberately copied like people, or like, had all these like copyright issues with people and like literally just copied ideas off of people. And then we're like, it's art. I'm making a meta commentary about copyright issues by doing copyright things. It's like, that's like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of like one of my classmates when he did when NFTs, like he made an NFT and then profited off of the NFT, and then in his artist statement claimed that he was criticizing the NFT marketplace. And we were like, okay, so you're criticizing it by profiting off of it? Why? That makes no sense. But okay, thanks. Yeah. So but I guess to draw the conclusions, it's so technical. It's like it's really difficult to separate the concept from the technical skill a lot of times in artwork. But I think it's important to appreciate both.
Yes.
And even if there are pieces that don't show off technical skill, I think there is still that's where you do need to hone in a little bit more on the concept. But even if you don't, if you just don't like the look of something, that's okay too. And if it just doesn't interest you and you don't want to delve into the concept anymore, that's okay too. Fine, whatever. There are other people out there that might get it. So. Yeah,
that's true. It's not for a piece of art doesn't have to be for everybody.
Subjective.
But one piece doesn't have to be for everybody.
No, of course not.
But the other thing is, though, like I think.
But I just think it's important for people to understand that the reason why a lot of the people don't, fully connect or engage the most well with like contemporary art now is because it's shifted away from aesthetics and more into concepts.
Okay, so. That's okay. I understand that makes a lot. Puts a name to what I think a lot of people have been kind of complaining about. I mean, the other thing. So my conclusion thing, though, in this discussion,
besides your nihilism one.
Well, the and you've talked about this in some ways with me before, but it's like the process side of it. So you have concept, aesthetic or technical ability, and then process. And so, like we just discussed, with the bull and the field thing, it's like. The process of how they got to the execution or the technique or whatever, what they were there, that process means something too. Mm-hmm. And so without that, like, there's another piece that if the artist chooses to share with the viewer or, the consumer of the art, whatever you want to call it. But if they choose that as part of the work, then that can add another layer, right?
Yeah.
Right. So like if you just see the Picasso bull thing, right, you just see it. But if it's in an installation where you see the whole thing, then that
like the descriptions and
well, but you see all all the other pieces that lead up to it.
Oh yeah,
right?
Sure.
Those are two different exhibitions of the same piece.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yay. Great.
Interesting. No,
interesting.
It's always interesting.
Always, yeah. Good stuff. Okay.
Cool. Okay.
Your section.
My section, art and technology. So on YouTube, see, I always get these ideas from YouTube, but so that's good job, YouTube. I saw this guy who created an art robot. It was a painting. It was like markers. It ended up being markers. I think he uses markers, and so it's this It's a robot that is on a XY axis, has and then it can take a pen and move the pen around and draw dots. And because it's some like art style that's like
it's pop art. It's like
art.
comic.
It's comic
art,
book style pop art, right? Mm-hmm. And he wanted to be able to produce his own, artworks with this robot. And so he built the robot.
Yeah.
And it took him months, maybe years. I don't know. It took him a long time because he had these whole things where like he had to account for when you move the pen would actually flex. So
right? And the pen would run out of ink.
And the pen would run out of ink. But like the whole thing was like when you made a circle, because the thing would bend, he could never make you couldn't make a circle because it would flex and stuff circle. So he had to program it such that it could account for the flex in the pens and
or just find different
and
pens.
The pressure. No, but because the mechanism that holds the pen can't hold it straight.
Right,
it would
still
no matter what kind of force he puts on it, it still would tweak it.
Yeah.
And so he could never it couldn't just stay in place. It would always pull it over.
Right.
So he had to find he had to program it to account for that.
Yep.
He had to program to account for, all the bends and all the, the ink running out and all those kind of things. So he created this robot that could recreate pieces of pop art.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question is, where in that is the art?
Well, like, okay.
Is the final piece art?
Okay, so okay, so I mean, we can derive this from just what we had talked about just shortly before, but also in a previous episode where we talked about AI art. So you're asking is the guy an artist?
Is the guy an artist?
Is that what your question? Is that what
I have many questions. So is the final piece art?
Okay.
Is he an artist?
Okay.
Is the what is the art in? Is there any art in the whole thing?
Okay. So just to go back to our conversation about the AI art thing, where we had discussed that technically the person that created the AI piece was an artist because he just simply used AI generator as a tool, as artists use their tools. Like cameras can't take pictures on their own. Somebody has to be doing it, and somebody has to be printing out the image. Just like ChatGPT and blah 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 blah. They need input and in order to create something, and so he did that. So that technically this guy is an artist. It's really impressive that he built his tool and like the tool did it for him and all that stuff. But he still put in the input. He still had a goal and he executed that by using a tool. Okay, he's an artist. Great. Now the art, the project itself, what he did was. So he didn't actually make a new piece. He just took an already existing piece and then just made the robot copy it.
Yeah, but I think he had some original pieces too, using it to do the same style.
Oh, okay, there you go. So, okay. So then at that point, the question that I would have is, what is the purpose of him reproducing this work with a robot?
Okay.
Like at that point, I think because I associate technology and like AI and all that stuff with efficiency. At that point, I think that he's doing this reproductive kind of thing for some sort of business or corporate plans or something. Like maybe for redistribution or like he wants to sell them to people, and so he needs to make them. But instead of making prints. He wants them to have the real pieces, I guess. And so they're he's just so the robot's basically just making them for him. Okay, sure.
I think that he just wanted it himself originally.
Okay.
Like he did build it because he wanted the piece like these, and then he would create. Then after that, he had this robot that could generate these things, and the people, I'm guessing he sells them. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But the people just wanted certain either reprints of the same thing, or they want something original. But like he could just program the thing to do that. So here's I will go with this and see what you think of it. I would say from my non-artist and engineering side of things, the robot is his work of art. The robot itself, the tool that he created was the art.
Okay, so you're saying that he's singing more with the robot than he is with the work that he's creating with the work.
Yeah. I think there's more to like that. The thing that
probably.
is.
I mean, yeah, that was the thing that like that got me interested in the video in the first place. So it's like, okay, I don't really care about what this dude's making.
No.
I care about why he made a robot to do this.
Yeah.
Like, why is he making?
He made the robot because he liked that style, and he wanted a reproducible way to do that, make that style, and then But then the robot itself was like the tools were the hydraulic systems and the computer that controls it, the control systems and all those kind of things.
But the robot
itself was the thing that it's like, wow, that is the craftsmanship and the art. Maybe I don't know. We talked about this. It is like I don't think I couldn't classify it as a craft though, because it's much more. I don't know. There's much more. Subjectivity and
there can be discussion about it.
I don't know, but it was like I don't think the art, like I don't know how you could say that the art, the end product is really art. It's just just like a poster or something, like that, or a print. Is in my, although it's not, it's a reproduction mechanism, right? It's a mechanism for reproduction. So are reproductions art? I don't think so, right?
Well, at that point, it's the question of why are the reproductions being made in the first place? Like, it's the intent. I don't like. Why is he doing this? Like, is he just doing this because I wanted to just do like a fun, cool, home project for myself, and or like it's like, didn't you say that he like wanted a piece or something?
Yeah, he wanted the piece.
Okay,
himself.
yeah. So if he's so that would be interesting. So like if he took an already existing piece, that like he could have bought.
Well, he can't because it's it's just like it's a a small comic book panel.
Okay.
But he made it a wall size thing.
He made it giant.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. But I'm just saying, like, what if, he wanted a piece that an artist had already created, but he didn't want to buy it. So he was like, okay, robot, just make the piece for me.
Yeah. So then, no. So I don't think it's art. Like I said, yeah, okay, you made the faces. I don't think the end pieces are the art. Like I said, I think in my head, the way that I analyze it is that the robot itself is the art.
Well, yeah, if we're saying if we want to go the route of art sparking controversy and sparking some kind of discussion, then yeah, the robot's gonna freak people out because, like I just said, he can just he can repaint the Mona Lisa if he wanted to. He could do all these things. Like I don't know. I don't know this dude, so like I mean, he seemed to have made like just like a harmless little robot, and he just made a harmless little project. But I'm just saying, like it like that kind of thing can spark ideas in people, maybe get other people like the wrong idea that like, oh, I can just recreate anything I want then. Yeah, I don't know. So at that point, yeah, it's intent, but it's also, I mean, I respect the guy. Like it's like a really cool project, and I think it's definitely an interesting idea that he sparked up for conversation about that kind of stuff. So,
okay, so if you're talking intent, I'm guessing he didn't intend anything to be art. He probably did not intend.
No, he was like he's an engineer. He's not like I'm gonna make an art piece for this. Yeah. I don't know what his intent is. That's the thing. So I'm just making guesses right now.
So then we're going back to the whole, like, without intent, then there's no art?
I mean,
No, if there's no intent.
well, it's not. It's not. So whether there was intent or not, it's the viewer and their understanding of what the artist's intent is. That kind of thing.
Maybe he's just a craftsman that built built a robot that could reproduce art. But from my perspective, that thing is art. The robot itself, I interpreted that as art because
that's understandable. I interpreted it as that's this tool and he's making reproductions, but that we have different interpretations, and that's okay.
Yeah, subjective.
Subjective.
But so I'm pretty sure that it's not art then.
No. Let's go with
By
that.
my definition.
There we go.
If you're leaving it all up to subjectivity, it's probably not art. Or
Someone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm just joking.
I really just think that he was just having fun with it.
Yeah, I think so too. No, I agree. I think
he just. Cool project.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, but it was. I don't think any of it is like it's most likely that there was no art in the whole process. It's just a robot that made.
He's like, hey, this is cool.
Pictures.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
So, yay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
So then, the final pop culture section.
This is yours.
This is mine.
Your turn.
And I think I remember what I was going to ask you.
It
was
don't.
on. Oh yes, your generation's your generation's view of the future.
Lord.
There is a future. I'm guessing,
obviously, there's a tomorrow.
Yes, there's a tomorrow. Yes, but beyond one semester of school, does your generation think about it or plan for it or anything related? Because whenever, and sorry, I go back to the weird dating things, but most of the that, and that's like I said, I think I've said before, the dating thing is interesting because it gives me some insight into how people think, your generation thinks. It's not a good idea, and that's probably why I'm asking you this question. But they don't seem to think beyond a month from now at most. They don't think of consequences of any of the actions. They don't think about, it's what do I want? What would make me happy now? And I don't really think about whether this is going to make me happy long term, but this is what I'd like now. And that's about as far as thought processing they go into what they want.
Well, I mean,
what their future might look like.
I mean, it's not having phones and all that stuff has really helped our attention span, and so therefore our ability to process things long term isn't really great. So there's that. But I think so I don't know. I don't really have a lot of common conversations with friends asking, what are you going to do in 5 years? And what's your plan after? It's very much just I'm gonna just kick back and enjoy the ride. Okay.
So that it doesn't come up.
No, it doesn't.
You guys don't talk about it.
No, because I don't think anybody wants to.
And why do you think nobody wants to talk about it?
Because they're scared.
Oh, okay. Everybody's scared.
Yeah, but also just, there are a lot of messed up things going on in the world right now. And I think also because, again, I'm always going to go back to internet. I'm not blaming the internet necessarily for our generation's problems. I'm just saying it's a really big factor into it, which is, we have a lot of accessibility to a lot of news and a lot of public things, and also we have a hard time distinguishing between public and private, so a lot of private things come up on the internet. It's extremely accessible. We can see it. Everybody can see everything all at once, all the time. And sometimes there are just days where it just gets really overwhelming. And there sometimes when your algorithm has just really negative input sometimes. And so then that will cause people to get really overwhelmed and be okay, so the future is going to suck. Everything sucks now, so it's not going to get any better later. So might as well just enjoy the moment while I can and probably die before I'm 27. I know I've had multiple friends tell me, yeah, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna be out before 25 or something. I don't want to be here any longer. And they say and there sometimes I can't tell if it's just Gen Z humor or if they're actually being serious. But there's a lot of nihilistic tendencies that I hear from a lot of people. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So So, like, how does that? So, I'm trying to think of how to ask the question. So, does it like does that like how does that affect
Me.
you? Sure. How does it affect you?
Okay. And
what does it like? What does that make? What does it day to day? Like, what does it look like for the people around you, like your people your age? Like, because of this the way that they think about things, what does their day to day life look like? I mean, do they like So I'll give you the example. So like for us, when I was in school, right?
okay.
Like we cared about our grades.
Yeah.
Not so much because of what we were learning. And this is, you can put all the negative stereotypes on it, but you can put we were worried about our grades because we wanted to get a job, because we wanted to have a lifestyle or something going forward that we could support a family. That's what, we had we might be the last generation or late, that thought this way, but, like go to school, get a job, have a family, and and enjoy your family. That was like kind of what was kind of in the water, as you say, right? And everyone thought that's the direction they were going. And so just by the people around you, the culture you swam in, it was like, okay, that was what everyone had, was like the baseline of what everyone thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, is there a baseline that your generation thinks is going to happen? Is the thought that everyone is just going to wipe out after, in less than 5 years or 5 years or so?
That is most certainly something that a lot of people are thinking, especially with like the whole North Korea and like Russia and all this other stuff in other countries, because our president is making weird decisions. Anyway, yeah, it's that, and sorry, it was just very jarring for me to hear you talk about like how for you and your peers at your school, these were the things that you guys were thinking about. Nobody at my school cares about their grades. Okay, first of all, I go to an art school. Of course, nobody cares about grades. They're not thinking about that. And half the time, I don't think half of my peers are even thinking about art or like what they're even doing for their degree. They're just hanging around.
Do they think about jobs? Like, what are they going to do after school?
Well, no. See, I don't know if people get jobs anymore because they want to sustain a living. I know like a select few. I have a few good friends of mine that I do know are looking for career kind of things, but everybody's focused on career. Everybody's either focused on career or they're just focused on getting money to get by.
So they are. So you guys do think about that?
Yes, but just that. Not. I don't.
Just getting money.
Yeah, getting money.
Like, they don't
making
think about
money.
a career or what like life looks like.
No, they think about a career kind of, but like, yeah, it's mainly just getting money in order to get their food, get by, probably buy drugs and alcohol. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this is just from the perspective of an art school college student. This is just what I'm seeing from my peers.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I have like a small little bubble. I don't really go out and meet many different people, but yeah, just in my small pool. Yeah, that's what I see.
Wow. Okay. So I don't know if that's, I guess that the whole, well, I don't know where to go with that. I don't know where to go with that. I cannot draw a conclusion. Well, it's
I don't know where I didn't know where you were going with this.
I'm trying to understand what from what I see from these dating YouTube things, that's
you're watching
your generation.
YouTube. That's what's happening. Okay.
Yeah, so, but. And then there's I know there's the other side of things, because obviously I'm at a tech company and I see interns and stuff, and those people are very career oriented too.
Yeah.
But they're career oriented, and this is different. See, this is where I also feel like it's different.
Well, because you guys were career oriented for family.
Yes, but they're career oriented for money.
Money. Yep.
See, it's like it's similar to what you're saying. Whatever job that you're in art school, and they don't necessarily have a career path, but they want to make money.
Yep.
And that's how I see all the stuff that I'm, like, there's no reason to get to have a career or anything other than to get money or or flex.
Yeah, well, because like you said, it's a lot of our generation is focused on the now and is focused on whatever's going to make us happy now, not permanently. So they're thinking about, I want money now because money is going to make me happy now, not I'm going to save money so that I can get things and like save up for those things, in the future that are going to make me long-term happy later on. It's no, I just want to be happy now, get some money now so I can buy drugs now so I can be temporarily happy now.
Yeah. But I think, that's I think that's the art side of things. I think the
general public,
the tech side of things is that it's like, I want to have a career. I want to career because I want to climb the ladder because I want to have all this stuff. I want to have a big house. I want to have the fancy car. I want to run my own company, and I want to be this, the CEO of everything.
Yeah.
And I want to be Elon Musk and, or whatever. And I just want to have a big platform to show off for whatever. But it's still just a very, narcissistic one, as we always talk about, but it's like a very me-focused, path for life.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really thinking about anything else other than,
yourself and your feelings in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels very, I mean,
that is the general consensus of like how I feel when I interact with people around my age. Yeah. It's just like, okay, they're just going to do whatever they feel like doing. I'm like, okay.
I know. I mean, when I was growing up, there is some aspect of that when you're young, because everybody has that when they're young.
Sure.
But there just doesn't feel like, and this like you're saying, it could be the internet, because you have the internet gives you a very skewed perspective of everything, right? Because the people that you hear from are people that are loud and the ones that make the most noise, right?
Yes.
But it just like the general culture, as we talk about the culture section, the general culture just feels like it really doesn't have a plan beyond beyond a few months.
And money.
And it really doesn't care about what happens as long as
you're happy.
As long as you're happy, as long as I get to keep doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, happiness, but it's not really.
No. Yeah.
But like I said, when I was growing up, we had the similar, selfishness, but it was still like there was still long-term thought and that your actions had implications down the road. I think that's what I'm trying to get at, is that your generation just does not seem to think about consequences whatsoever. That certain things happening now affect your life decisions later.
Yep. No, we don't think about that. No.
It's just like. Yeah, I think that's my that's what I'm trying to validate, verify.
Verify.
Is that the case? It's just my feeling is that you guys don't think about consequences or what will happen in the future, that there is going to be a future and that your actions now will actually affect it.
Well, obviously no, because I mean, yeah, you're I mean, as in yes, you're right. Like, yeah, it's like we keep saying, like if everybody's focused on the now, then they're not going to think about the later. So therefore, they're not going to think. Like, people are getting. Okay, I'm sorry. I just have this is like a really big people are getting a lot of tattoos,
piercings,
and just a lot of, and like, it's not that I don't like people because of it, or I don't respect them because of it. It's. I just don't know if people are thinking about, if they want to have a family later on, what their kids or like what, or just like anybody's going to say when like their grandma has a ready to die bitch like a neck tattoo. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's I think that's the conclusion that I've come to.
Or like a pair of dice on their elbow. Like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
It's just people do not think about consequences.
No.
They think about their happiness in the moment or what is cool to them in the moment, and just no thought about the future and implications and things like that.
Yeah. And then, of course, people are going to get sensitive about this because any sort of negative connotation towards them is no bueno, and they get sensitive, and that affects their happiness now. So
makes sense to me. Okay, that actually, I didn't know exactly where I was going with this.
I don't know either.
But that helped me a lot to just like to distill to get to the thought that it's really about not thinking about consequences.
Well, yeah,
it's
that
not
is
really.
the main thing.
It's not necessarily like my original thing was like I was thinking about like you guys not planning for things, and that's I think that's a Gen X thing.
It's because we genuinely don't think about that because we don't care.
Because you don't care about what's going to happen, really.
No,
like something
because
whatever happen is going to happen.
That is literally our mantra. Yeah,
and so planning for anything really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
because
that's why I also think besides narcissism, we're also a very impulsive generation.
Yeah, okay, that all makes sense to me. I mean, kind of the things like you were validated in that in the whole pandemic thing. I mean, you guys had no say in what was how you could react to that thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. Everyone told you what to do, and so that's
part,
like you don't have to think about what the consequences is because someone's going to tell you what to do.
Yep.
That's your life experience. People will tell you what to do.
Yeah, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's scary, right? Because you don't want people telling you what to do. Because are they always looking out for the best for you?
No.
Yeah, so don't. Yeah, okay. Well, that was good. Thank you. That was depressing, but helpful in a
for
bleak
you
way.
To understand a little bit more,
yes.
I guess.
Yeah,
and then me to just my generation sucks. I get it.
Ideally, this is the whole point of me. The whole point of when I ask these weird questions about your thing is to try to figure out how I can help you guys avoid it, right? My thing is my consequences and things I worry about is how these things are going to affect you and your sister.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if I explore these things with you, I can help work through these things with you. If I know that it's a large problem is that people aren't thinking about consequences, then I make sure that I reinforce with you to think about the consequences of things.
Well, yeah, if we're constantly around people that that might influence those ideas, then you as our dad is gonna come in and be like, hey,
don't forget to think about the consequences of these things when these people are not. And so it's they're impulsive, like you said. That's a good way to put it. Everyone's impulsive.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. It's fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Emmy. That was very
Dad.
helpful. Yeah.
Yay.
Oh.
Wait. Oh.
Wait.
Wait. What?
Did we draw our conclusions?
Wait. What?
How do we end the thing?
What was the conclusion that we drew from that? I just said that
No, it was depressing.
It was depressing, and it helped you understand a little bit more about my generation, and then it made me just. Okay,
sad.
Yeah, my generation sucks. Thanks for validating that once again. Okay,
no,
great.
Awesome. No, thank you that was good. Thank you.
Sure.
We got some weird stuff always going on.
I don't know what's happening.